Hello, everybody. This is Julissa. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming back to my channel. Thank you so much, everybody, who's listening right now in the podcast. Today is May 6th, Wednesday, 2026. I'm going to talk to you guys about the situation that's happening on that cruise ship that is unable to dock because of the how many people are infected with that virus that's that they're having an outbreak. Okay, before I continue, thank you guys so much. Like I said, for listening in the podcast, and thank you everybody who's using Spotify to do so. Don't forget to follow Julissa Designs podcast on Spotify. So every time I make a new episode, you will get a notification. And of course, thank you guys so much, everybody who's watching this video right now on YouTube. Thank you so much for being here. So, you cannot help but to think that something's crazy is going on or is about to really come true, because everything, the news in the last 5 days, I guess we can say, is really crazy. Everything that's happening. Besides, you hear about families basically falling apart and things like this. Um, but this situation, with the virus that just about maybe half an hour ago, the World Health Organization has just confirmed officially that the hantavirus outbreak on the cruise ship involves a rare strain. Listen to this. Involve a rare strain that can be transmitted between humans. Okay, let me tell you exactly what's going on. Because I know there's a lot of people that, even though this is like trending news right now, not a lot of people know exactly what's going on. I was just coming back from Florida and I was talking to the people sitting next to me, and they happened to tell me they were just coming back from a cruise. And I said, "Oh, did you hear about the situation with the cruise overseas? That they are unable to dock because of how many people have the hantavirus, and they have absolutely no idea what I was talking about." And it's so crazy because you would think, coming from a cruise, in the situation is happening on another cruise, people will be more aware of what's happening, but they have absolutely no idea. So let me just tell you, I believe for they've been there for a while now, maybe a couple of days or maybe 3. I don't think it's more than 5 days. So let me just tell you guys exactly what happened. So health officials have confirmed that the virus on the cruise ship outbreak is linked to a rare variant of the deadly hantavirus. And on Wednesday, May 6th, the World Health Organization suggested they confirm that the outbreak is caused by the Andes strain of the hantavirus, which originates in South America. So we understand this cruise that's unable to dock is near the Argentina border or something like this. So, and it says here, it originates in South America, primarily in Argentina and Chile. And this is the only known strain that can be transmitted human to human, the only known strain that can be transmitted human to human. So the cruise ship with nearly 150 passengers began its voyage in Argentina as of May 6th. There, there are 8 suspected cases linked to this vessel, 3 of which were confirmed as hantavirus by laboratory testing, according to the organization, and at least 3 passengers have died already. So, hantavirus is an infectious disease that's normally spread through contact with rodents such as deer, mice, cat and rats, rice rats, and white-footed mouse. The virus is typically transmitted to humans when they are bitten or come into contact with the urine, droppings, and saliva of any infected rodent. However, with the Andes strain, which is they're saying this is the most rare one because this is the kind that is transmitted human to human contact. Um, However, with this Andes strain, transmission occurs human to human following close and prolonged contact during the early phase of the illness, when the virus is more transmittable. According to the organization, our assumption is that the if they were infected off the boat and then joined the cruise. um, that's the assumption that they're saying, right? Because that's what cruises do, right? They go from country, whatever. They have a whole itinerary, right? As we know it, they let people go out and and explore, and then they go come back to the ship. So they believe that's exactly what happened here, and they also say. However, we do believe that there may be some human-to-human transmission that is happening among the really close contact, the husband and the wife, and people who share cabins. So that's why this cruise has so many people who are infected by it. Right? Symptoms of the hantavirus, including fatigue, fever, muscle aches, and nausea, can appear 2 to 8 weeks after exposure. Wow, that is a very long time. Because I mean, 2 weeks after exposure, you would think it's something else. You're like, well, I just came from that cruise like, 3 weeks ago, and I'm feeling kind of sick, and they're like, oh, it's probably you went to the store or something, or the weather changing, things like this. But wow, let me see. There is no specific treatment for this type of virus, but symptom management is typically the course of action. Additionally, the Andes strain has roughly 40% case of fatality rate. With the potential of human-to-human transmission, health officials said the public health response has shifted. If it were just rodents on the ship, taking people off the ship and not exposing other people to the rodent on the ship should be enough to stop the spread, said a clinical associate professor of medicine. But with the Andes virus, taking folks off the ship doesn't stop the spread. Taking people off the ship doesn't stop. Despite the current outbreak, the organization said the risk to global population remains very low, and the agency will continue to monitor the situation. The Health Organization Agency said it was working with relevant international authorities to identify who might have been exposed to the virus and prepare and prevent further spread of this disease. So yeah, it's very crazy to even reading this is giving me extreme flashback to 2020. Okay, you cannot help it to think that, right? Trying to identify who might be infected, this rare disease, this virus, right? Everything is being spread so fast, right? And as I'm saying this, I hope they don't cancel this video because I'm talking about this situation. I know back in 2020 you mentioned what was happening then, and every video on here on YouTube will get immediately flagged for that for some reason, let me just see what people are saying in the comments because there's a lot of people saying, "Do not let that ship dock. Leave them over there into the cases get resolved or something, because if it's spreading so fast like that, especially human to human, what do we think is going to happen the minute the people get kind of like released? But you have to think, to imagine yourself in that situation, right? You book this trip, things something like this happen, the last thing you want to do is be kind of like sick out there in the middle of the ocean. You have your whole itinerary plan. You want to maybe even the people who are not infected, right? I don't know if they even let them out. Okay, so I imagine yourself in such a crazy situation like that, right? And this is a time too for cruises. I mean, I know people go on cruises very regularly, but I know also this is a very popular time for that. So let me see what people are saying in the comments. What an absolute nightmare for these passengers. They should be allowed to disembark immediately and get off the boat, right? Imagine like you have this vacation plan, but you have to get home to your work, to care for somebody, that depends on you. And they're like, oh, nobody's getting off the boat because there are people here infected with this and you already been exposed. That's crazy. Like, do the testing on these people and start letting people go back home, right? To help them like that, They're not in jail, and people are saying don't let them out. They're gonna get people infected. But if they're testing negative, um, is maybe wait a week. Let's just say, and start letting these people go. And somebody said 40% fatality rate is extremely scary. And somebody also said, I can't imagine what anti-Hantavirus could do to the world. I feel for the people aboard the cruise ship. They have got to be miserable being locked down during this whole thing. So that's another thing. It's not like they're partying over there. I mean, I would assume if you have an outbreak on a cruise ship and you don't want people to dock because they're going to infect more population, my understanding would be that nobody's allowed to even leave the cabin. It's not like, okay, we'll keep everybody who's sick over here and you still do your thing. You still go enjoy your time, go to the public, restaurants, everybody, communal restaurants, everybody's allowed. They are probably inside the cabin 24/7. So imagine a situation like that, right? And somebody said, hope, prayers for all the people on board. This is so scary. I thought nothing could stop. Um, okay, that's a very weird comment, but imagine something like this, right? So I want to know, as I'm here talking to you guys, I want to know what the next step will be. Um, on this, I'm searching as I'm speaking to you guys right here. So just bear with me one moment. Let me see. Okay, so they're saying as of today, okay, as of today, the Hantavirus stricken cruise ship is traveling to the Spanish Canary Islands after Spain authorized the dock, authorized it to dock. Despite the strong opposition from regional leaders, the ship experienced a deadly outbreak with 3 deaths and several infections. Was early denied permission to dock uh, by Cape Verde. Docking authorization. So Spain authorized them to dock at the Canary Islands. So that should be happening. Wow, that just changed. Hold on 1 second. Not long ago, I think that was canceled. Okay, so they were oh my goodness, they were authorized to dock after being denied to dock in a different place in there. Spain said, okay, go to the Canary Islands. We're authorizing you to dock there. And the Canary Islands said, not here. So they denied for them to dock there also. Um, so it says here, the infected cruise ship has been brought from docking in the Canary Islands over the ongoing hantavirus outbreak. The region's president confirmed Wednesday, so today. And he said, I cannot allow it to enter the Canary Islands, said Fernando Clavijo to the local media. Conservative politician Clavijo has blasted Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez over the decision to allow the ship to dock, claiming it was not based on technical criteria, nor there is sufficient information to reassure the public guarantee safety. What a nightmare this is for these people on board. I understand, guys, there's a lot of risk to to let them dock and stuff like that, but I'm saying start testing people and let them off the boat. Because it is just like if you put yourself in that situation, that is crazy. And not only that, I'm sure they're gonna do some type of registry, right? Like I said, this is like 2020 all over. I'm sure they're gonna do some type of registry to track them, to say, yeah, you were on that, on that ship. Um, so they approved for them to dock there, and they were completely denied by that. So what is gonna be with them now? Um, Let me see if I can find maybe more information about that. They should really find a solution for them because, like, so the latest news about where they were going to end up was released yesterday, right? Um, it was finally agreed yesterday that they were going to attack at Canary Islands. Unfortunately, though, today the Canary Islands officials say not here. They're not going to permit it. So right now, cruise ship not allowed to dock at Cape Verde. Um, so where is it gonna be? So talk about your life changing completely, right? Like I said, people, I'm sure people that go on a cruise, they plan all of this out and they have their life to go back to, right? So so imagine something like going through something like that. So the World Health Organization has explained that Cape Verde is unable to carry out this operation, right? The Canary Islands are also the closest location with necessary capabilities, and authorities have refused to grant permission for the ship to dock over health concerns. The ship will have to travel for 4 days before reaching the Canary Islands, so that was going to take a while too. Um, 3 people are confirmed to have died in the outbreak and at least 5 are sick. Swiss authorities have since confirmed a passenger is being treated in a Zurich hospital for hantavirus. The traveler, only identified as a man, returned to the country last month after he went to the doctors when he noticed symptoms. So, also an FYI about this virus is this: last year, I believe it was during, I don't know if it was Christmas, around Christmas 2024, beginning of 2025. I talked to you guys about um how they found Gene Hackman, the actor, and his wife dead in their house, and they were saying they were probably dead there for a couple weeks. And this is exactly what happened. Hantavirus, the disease that killed Gene Hackman's wife, Betsy, is usually spread to rodent droppings, but health officials say they were told no rodents were found on board. So this is what we have heard about this hantavirus before, because the situation with Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy was that Gene Hackman had advanced Alzheimer's, and Betsy was infected by this hantavirus. She passes away in the house, and then Gene Hackman, with advanced Alzheimer's, also died. They say like a week after she passed. So she was the caretaker for him. So that's what we heard about this also not too long ago. But like I said, this strain that is infecting people on the ship is called the Andes virus, and that's the one that's specifically being said that it can be transmitted human to human. This is why it's so dangerous, and like I understand that. But look, they're releasing photos of inside the ship saying that the lounges are empty, so these people are being kept inside their cabin 24/7. So, not a lot of people can deal with something like this, right? Some people are saying we're just keeping ourselves busy reading and watching movies. So we gotta pray, for everybody on board, not only the people that are infected by this and sick, but the people who are there trying to get themselves back home. You know, desperation can lead to a lot of stuff, right? So we gotta pray for them to be patient as they sort this thing out and be able to come in for a solution so they can, be released and be able to go back home. And also the family is waiting for them, right? So if there's an update about this and where they're gonna be docking, where they were gonna be docking at some point, I'll definitely come back and let you know. I was just reading something. Let me see, because there's some breaking news as I'm speaking. So, at least 23 passengers from the Hantavirus infected cruise ship have already left the boat and returned home, including to the U.S., according to the shocking report. Okay, so this is a breaking news right now. So they're saying, yeah, just about an hour ago they updated this. They were able to release 23 of them. I'm saying release like they were in jail, but they were able to left the ship and return back home. And also, some of them were coming here to the U.S. The travelers did not realize that they have been exposed to the deadly virus. Okay, sorry. Let me just say. They have already left the boat and returned home, including to the US, according to a shocking news report, and one of them has already gotten sick. Okay, so what happened was, before they realized, I guess, what was going on there, people were, you know, uh, going about their days, and some of them were done with their cruise, so they returned home, and then they started getting sick. Um, they say there are 23 people wandering around there, and until 3 days ago, no one had contacted them, a passenger said to a Spanish newspaper. Um, wow. So the Australian went back to Australia, and the one from Taiwan went back to Taiwan, and the Americans to all corners of North America. And basically, people are just going about their itinerary, and they return back home without knowing the situation that was going on there, right? So I guess that happened. The 23 people that left early, I guess you can say, before all the restriction happened. So that's what it was. They didn't even know they were exposed to the virus. So imagine that. So like I said, guys, I'm running out of time here. If there's any new update about this, I'll definitely come here and let you know. Let me know, guys, what you think about this whole situation, and if you know any new update about this case, just leave it in the comments. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming to the channel, and everybody who's listening in the podcast. Have a good day. God bless. Hi, everybody. This is Julissa. Thank you so much for coming to the YouTube channel. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. And I hope to see you in the next video. Have a good day, everybody. God bless.